She thought she had won. He was leaving his wife for her. The apartment was ready. The divorce papers were drafted, and she could finally stop hiding in the shadows. But then something changed. He started pulling away, making excuses, avoiding her calls. And that's when Sarah made a decision that would turn her from the other woman into something far more dangerous. She wasn't going to lose him. Not to anyone. Not even to the wife he promised to leave. What started as jealousy became obsession. What began as checking his wife's social media turned into something that would destroy 3 lives forever. This is the true story of a woman who couldn't let go, and the terrifying lengths she went to keep a man who was never truly hers. How does a successful marketing executive with a master's degree and a promising career become so consumed by a married man that she loses everything? What happens when love turns into something unrecognizable, something that crosses every boundary? And most importantly, at what point does someone realize they've gone too far, that there's no coming back from what they've done? These are the questions that haunted everyone who knew Sarah Mitchell. Before the story ends, you'll understand how a single choice, made in a moment of desperation, can unravel an entire life. You'll see how obsession doesn't announce itself with warning signs. It creeps in quietly, disguised as love, until one day you wake up and don't recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. Sarah Mitchell was 34 years old when she met David Turner at a corporate networking event in downtown Chicago. She had everything going for her. A 6-figure salary, a beautiful condo overlooking Lake Michigan, and a circle of friends who admired her confidence and drive. She wasn't looking for love that night. She was there to make connections, to climb higher in her career. But when David approached her at the bar, something shifted. He was 41, charming, successful, and he made her feel seen in a way no one had in years. They talked for hours about work, about dreams, about life. He didn't mention his wife until the 3rd time they met for coffee. When he finally told her, Sarah should have walked away. She knew better. She'd watched her own mother suffer through her father's affairs, seen the pain it caused, promised herself she'd never be that woman. But David made it sound temporary. He said his marriage had been over for years, that he and his wife Jennifer were only staying together for their teenage daughter. He said he was planning to leave, that he just needed time to do it right. Sarah wanted to believe him. And for 18 months, she did. Before we go deeper into what happened next, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. But relationships built on secrets have a way of crumbling. 6 months before everything fell apart, David started changing. The texts became less frequent. The late-night phone calls stopped. When Sarah asked him about the divorce, he became defensive, irritable. He said his lawyer was working on it, that these things took time. But Sarah could feel him slipping away. She'd given up so much for this relationship, turned down dates with available men, spent holidays alone while he was with his family, lied to her friends about why she was always unavailable. She couldn't lose him now, not after everything. So she started checking his social media more frequently, looking for clues, trying to understand what was happening. That's when she found Jennifer's Instagram account. And that's when everything changed. Jennifer Turner wasn't what Sarah expected. Scrolling through her photos, Sarah had imagined a bitter, cold woman, someone who made David unhappy, someone who justified the affair. But Jennifer's Instagram showed something: a woman in her early 40s with warm eyes and an easy smile. Photos of her volunteering at a local animal shelter. Pictures of homemade dinners. And dozens of photos with David. Recent photos from the past few months. David with his arm around her at a restaurant. David kissing her cheek at a concert. David smiling wider than Sarah had ever seen him smile. These weren't the photos of a dead marriage. These were the photos of a man who had never planned to leave. Sarah felt something crack inside her that night. All those promises, all those late-night conversations where he'd painted himself as trapped and miserable, they were lies. He wasn't leaving Jennifer. He had never been leaving Jennifer. Sarah was nothing more than a distraction, a secret he kept in hotel rooms and hidden text messages. The realization should have freed her. She should have blocked his number, deleted his contact, moved on with her life. But that's not what happened. Instead, Sarah became consumed with one question. What did Jennifer have that she didn't? She started checking Jennifer's social media every day, sometimes multiple times a day. She studied her posts, analyzed her photos, tried to understand what made her so special. 2 weeks later, Sarah drove to Jennifer's neighborhood. She told herself she just wanted to see the house, to make the situation feel real, to get closure. But when she arrived, she didn't leave. She parked down the street and waited. She watched Jennifer load groceries from her car. She saw David arrive home from work, kiss his wife on the front porch like he'd done it 1,000 times before. Sarah sat in her car until dark, her hands gripping the steering wheel, her mind racing with thoughts she couldn't control. This became her routine. 3, sometimes 4 times a week, Sarah would drive to that neighborhood. She learned Jennifer's schedule, knew when she went to yoga, when she volunteered at the shelter, when she met friends for lunch. Sarah told herself she was just gathering information, trying to understand, but deep down she knew the truth. She was losing control. The messages started arriving in Jennifer's inbox days later. Anonymous messages from a fake account detailing the affair. Times, dates, places. Everything Sarah had documented, she sent it all. She expected Jennifer to confront David immediately, to kick him out, to file for divorce. But nothing happened. Days passed, then a week. Jennifer's Instagram remained unchanged. Sarah couldn't understand it. That's when Sarah made her final mistake. She decided to go to Jennifer's house late one night, to knock on the door and tell her everything face to face. But before she could move, the front door opened and David stepped out. He wasn't alone. Jennifer was with him, and they were arguing. Sarah couldn't hear the words, but she could see Jennifer's face, see the anger and hurt written across it. Jennifer was holding papers, waving them at David. She knew. Jennifer finally knew. And then, in a moment that made Sarah's blood run cold, Jennifer looked directly at her car. Their eyes met across the darkness. Jennifer knew about everything. Not just the affair, but the stalking, the messages, the surveillance. The next morning, 2 police officers knocked on Sarah's door. Jennifer Turner had filed a restraining order. She had security camera footage of Sarah's car outside her house on multiple occasions. She had screenshots of all the anonymous messages traced back to Sarah's IP address. Sarah was being charged with stalking and harassment. Her entire life had just collapsed. But the real twist came 3 weeks later. Sarah's lawyer showed her something that made her stomach drop. David Turner had filed for divorce from Jennifer, but according to the paperwork, they'd been separated for 8 months. The perfect Instagram photos Sarah had obsessed over, they were staged. Jennifer had been posting them to maintain appearances while they quietly ended their marriage. David hadn't been choosing Jennifer over Sarah. He'd been lying to both of them. And here was the most devastating part. David had started dating someone new 2 months ago. He'd moved on while Sarah was destroying her life, trying to hold on to him. Sarah had been so consumed by jealousy that she'd missed the obvious truth. David didn't love either of them. He loved the attention, the control, the power of having multiple women fighting over him. Sarah had turned herself into a cautionary tale, sacrificed her entire life for a man who was never worth it. She'd become the villain in her own story. So here's what I want you to think about. How do you know when you've crossed the line from love into obsession? At what point should Sarah have walked away? Could you have done what Jennifer did and forgiven someone who terrorized you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from. And remember, you are enough, exactly as you are. You don't need someone else to complete you. Subscribe so you never miss these stories. Thank you for watching.